Hello. It's good to see you. Today we are going to be making a tomato sandwich. Now, one of the things I learned from having this channel a while ago, was that a lot of people in the world didn't know that a tomato sandwich was a thing that people actually made on purpose and consumed. Because I had a lot of people, when I would mention a tomato sandwich, they would say, "What is that?" Or I would make one in one of my sandwich making videos, and people would look at it and they would just express disgust at the very thought of eating that. Like, why are you putting anything else on that sandwich? That's so gross. So it's kind of a shock to me, because growing up in the South, and I know other parts of the country and other parts of the world, other people eat them too, but it's a really big thing, at least where I grew up in central North Carolina. You know, everybody, well, not everybody, a lot of people enjoy tomato sandwiches. Now, everybody has their own little way of doing it. I have a specific way I like it. And a while back, when was it? Was it last summer? I was in the New York Times Magazine. One of the writers is a subscriber and wanted to do a story about me and my tomato sandwiches. And so that was really cool. I have a specific way that I prefer to do it. Now, everybody kind of does it differently, and that's totally fine, you know, however you want to do it. So I went to the farmer's market this morning. First thing, I got this idea. I thought, let's go, because I haven't been in a little bit. I've been meaning to go, but I just haven't made it out there. So I went out there this morning and I made a video out there, which I will share with you later on. Now is the best time if you want to go get big, beautiful tomatoes for your sandwiches or for anything. And I'm going to show you the tomatoes I bought. And it was hard to choose because there were so many people with tomatoes, all different kinds, and they all looked so good. But I picked some and I got them. I also got some blackberries, and I'm going to stew blackberries later. That's another thing that I enjoy, that I've learned that a lot of people have never heard of, stewed blackberries. Where I grew up in a very secluded rural area. We didn't have any neighbors, and up until I was about 13, we were the only house on the entire road that we lived on. It was all timberland that was owned by a timber company, except we had 7 acres, but we were surrounded by forest. It was owned by this company, so it was pretty secluded, and we had a lot of briars, you know, blackberry briars, blackberry bushes, briars, and we would go out and pick blackberries, and you could come back with big buckets full of blackberries. So good. And my mom would stew blackberries, and I saw that some of the people at the farmer's market had some, so I got a big thing of blackberries. It's very simple. All you have to do is rinse them off, put them in a pot, or my mom would usually do it in a Corningware thing that you put on the stove, you know, like one that's kind of a square shape. And then she would cover them with water and put in sugar. I don't remember how much sugar she would put in, but she would put them in there, cover them with water, and mix the sugar in, and then let them sort of simmer on low for a long time. And the blackberries get very soft and they kind of fall apart, and it just sort of turns into this soup. But it's really good. Oh, it's absolutely delicious. It's very simple, but it's really good. So I'm going to stew some blackberries later that I'm going to enjoy. I don't know if my kids want them, but I'm looking forward to it. So, yeah, one of the best things about summertime is the big, beautiful tomatoes that you can get or grow yourself. I tried to grow some tomatoes last year, but it didn't go very well. So I'm just going to buy them at the farmer's market from people who don't kill their tomato plants. Yeah, so I'm going to show you what I use to make my tomato sandwiches. Mine are very simple. Some people get a little bit more involved. You can make very complicated, fancy tomato sandwiches. I prefer not to get all crazy with it. Of course, the number one thing for me is the bread. Now, I like Merita old-fashioned. This is just a white bread. It's very simple, and the packaging has looked like this since I was a kid. I don't remember it ever looking any other way, and it tastes exactly the same as it did when I was a kid. Now, we used this bread for our sandwiches when I was a kid because we used this bread for everything. And the reason we did that was because we didn't have a lot of money when I was growing up. But there was a bakery thrift store that my mom would go to a couple of times a month. We would go every week or two, and you could get loaves of this. It was like day-old bread. You can get them for, it was either 35 cents a loaf or 50 cents, but you could get it pretty cheaply at the bakery thrift store. And she would buy a whole bunch of it and take it home and freeze it. And so this is the bread that we would use for everything because it was inexpensive. I still love it though, but I hadn't bought any in a while. I guess I hadn't bought any since last year when we were gonna, did we? I don't know if we made one of these videos last year. Maybe I didn't, but I know I made some tomato sandwiches last year. I might not have made a video of it, but I went and bought this at my local Walmart. Do you know how much this was? I was shocked. I was absolutely shocked. $3.97. With taxes over $4 for a loaf of white bread. That's insane. That is insanity. I was talking to this loaf of bread in Walmart. I said, you better be glad I like you so much. That's insane. For what? I mean, it's all chemicals anyway. $4. And also, I went to get the mayonnaise. I was out of mayonnaise. I haven't used any for anything in a while. And you know I have to have my Duke's mayonnaise. That's another thing. A lot of people in the South are very particular about their mayonnaise. And I come from a family that used Duke's mayonnaise. And we don't talk to those Hellman's people. And God help the Kraft people. And the Miracle Whip, we definitely, it's a joke. People are very particular about their mayonnaise. Well, I went over to the mayonnaise section. I couldn't believe how much mayonnaise has gone up. Oh my word, it was just a shock to me. So for the first time ever in my life, I bought a bag of mayonnaise. Look at this. It's just a pouch of mayonnaise. It has a little dispenser, or if you just want to go buck wild with it, you can just cut it here and squeeze it out. If this is not fast enough for you, you can just cut this whole corner off. It's got a little line on it. If this is not fast enough, you can just cut it and just, go crazy with it. So I bought a bag of mayonnaise because this was the cheapest way I could get it. And this was $3 for this here. It is 8 ounces of mayonnaise. It was $3, $2.97. So I got that. And of course, I have my salt. Now, sometimes I will put pepper on my sandwich, but today I don't think I will. Now I'm going to show you my tomatoes that I bought. Oh, they're so pretty. I only got one Cherokee purple tomato because I wanted to try some of these other ones here. So Cherokee purples typically will kind of have a purplish color to them. This one doesn't have it a lot, but you can kind of see it up on the top. So yeah, it's got a little bit of purple up on the top, and it will typically have a little bit of green in it. So I have this Cherokee purple here. That's probably not the one I'm going to use today though. And I got this, and I cannot remember the name of this. It was something pink. Carolina pink or something like that. Got this one. I don't know that I'm familiar with these. Some people can tell their tomatoes apart. I have a little trouble with that. I should have written the name down, but I could go back and look at my walkthrough video, but I'm lazy and I don't want to. So, yeah, it's I can't remember what. Maybe it's Cherokee pink. It has something pink. And then I got this one right here. This was I want to say this was like a Carolina red or something like that. But I think this is the prettiest tomato. I don't know that I have one here that you might think is prettier, but you can see it has a nice color to it. It's very firm. It's a good size. Now these were all $2.99 a pound. Some of the sellers were selling them for $3.29 a pound, but I found one who had a really nice selection, and I bought all of these from the same vendor, and they were mix and match, $2.99 per pound, so I just got them all from her. Oh, this is actually also a Cherokee purple. I forgot. This one is too. Look at it. It looks like an embryo or something. They will do that sometimes when they get really big. They'll kind of curl over like that. So they're stuck on the vine up here, and it just hangs like that, you know. And they get a little split in them sometimes like that. It looks like a scar. But the uglier they are, the better they taste. From my experience, I saw this one, and it was and I have one of the type here. It was a pineapple yellow tomato. It had pineapple in the name, and I'm not familiar with those. I thought it was the stripy tomatoes. There are some that are called stripy tomatoes, and it might be the same thing by a different name. I'm not sure, but there was this one. It was this big. It was the biggest tomato I've ever seen in my life. It was enormous. You could have made 10 sandwiches out of that one tomato. It was enormous. It was this big. I mean, it looked like a human brain. It was so big. But yeah, that's my other Cherokee purple. You can see they kind of have the same color to them. So, see, but I wanted to have extras, so I could have a tomato sandwich now, and maybe have a couple tomorrow for lunch, or dinner. I could eat tomato sandwiches several days in a row. It doesn't bother me at all. But this one is pretty. This is my last one. This is one of the pineapple tomatoes. I'll have to look that up. I thought it was the stripy tomatoes, and there are some that are called stripies. And see, they have these little stripes in them. But this was a pineapple tomato. So I think we're going to use this one because I'm curious to see what this tastes like. Typically with the yellow tomatoes, they are less acidic. They don't have quite as much of an acidic taste to them. So it depends on what you're using them for. You might prefer one like this. I think these are all clean. I'm gonna go ahead and cut this up, and we are going to assemble a tomato sandwich. Now, when I get ready to cut a tomato up, everybody does it a little differently, and that's okay. You know, that's one thing that's wonderful about being alive and being in this universe. Everybody doesn't have to do the things the same way. And it's okay. As long as the job gets done, it doesn't matter how you do it, as long as it gets done. So I don't cut my tomatoes the way my mom used to. Now, my mom, and a lot of people, they will peel the tomato, like she would remove all the outer part. I don't do that. I actually prefer to leave it on there. It doesn't bother me at all. But she would always remove this outer layer. Now, if you look at it, it's going to have some little spots on it. And it doesn't matter. I mean, I find that it doesn't matter as long as it's not too bad. Like that right there, I might cut that off. I will remove that part. Like, see, and the inside of it is the same color. It's kind of yellow, as you can see there. So what I will do though, I will cut this part off here. This little, like it's a little belly button right there. Actually, that would be the belly button. So that's this little butthole. We're gonna cut that off. Oh, it's pretty. So I cut it off just because I don't want to eat that part. Look at it, it's pretty. It looks like tie-dye or like a piece of stained glass or something. That's just pretty. I like it. It's like a little happy little sunburst there. So then I'm just going to take this and I'm just going to cut slices. Some people like to cut them thick, some cut them thinner. I just cut them, I don't know, I wouldn't say they're especially thin, but they're not really thick either. I just do them whatever way seems right at the moment. It's big old slabs of tomato. Oh, I cut that one a little thick. That's okay. Now you have to keep in mind, like I'm looking at this and I'm only going to make one sandwich. So for me personally, oh, look at the inside. I don't really want to cut any more than I need for that sandwich. What I'll do is I will take it and wrap it with a little bit of plastic wrap or something, just to save it, and I will stick it in the refrigerator and have some more later. But this piece, my hands are clean. I cut that one a little thicker than I meant to, but it's okay. Now, I want to cut a couple of small wedge pieces. And I'll explain why I do that in just a minute. I'm going to just cut, I'll do 2. Okay. So I just cut these little wedges like this. I have two wedges like this. Oh, I looked this up. These pineapple tomatoes, they're part of the beefsteak tomato family. And they're supposed to be less acidic than your typical tomato. So I have that. I have a little butter knife here. I have some napkins, and I have another plate. So we have to get our bread. You can tell I already got into this because last weekend we went to Virginia to see my dad. And I stopped by a produce place up there and I got some tomatoes. Theirs weren't quite as good though. And I did make a tomato sandwich. I made 2 tomato sandwiches out of those tomatoes. I only bought a couple because they were not the best looking tomatoes. The ones at the Piedmont Triad Farmers Market were so much nicer. And they were cheaper too. Okay. Now, I leave the heel of the bread in there. This piece, it just stays in there. We're going to get 2 pieces of bread there. We'll put this back in there. Make sure to put the twist tie back on. I am so glad this bread hasn't changed. It tastes exactly the same as it did when I was a kid. All right, so we open it up like that. Now, some people say I don't put enough mayonnaise on my sandwiches, but however you make your sandwich, that's the exact right way to make it. If you make it and you eat it and you like it, you made it the right way. You did it just right. I don't like a whole lot of mayonnaise on there. I want enough to taste, but I don't want so much mayonnaise on there that I can't taste anything else. I want to be able to taste the tomato. So I got my bag of mayonnaise. It's kind of weird. I'm gonna squeeze some on. That's probably more than I needed. All right. See, it goes on there like that. If it's too much, it's okay, because what I prefer to do, yeah, it's too much. I want to put a thin layer of mayonnaise on both pieces of bread. I try to cover the entire surface, all the way up to the edge. I want to get the whole surface here. So you get a taste of the mayonnaise in every single bite right there. But look, I still have a bunch on here. That's okay, because then we take the other piece and we're going to coat that piece too. Same way. See, I like to do a thin coat on each piece of bread. I need a little more out of my bag. Not a lot, just a little. I like deep mayonnaise because it has kind of a tangy, it's got twang. I think that's their little saying, their slogan. It's got twang or something like that. It really does. It has some vinegar in it and it has a little twang to it. So we now have our mayonnaise on both pieces of bread right here. Now what we want to do, so you have your surface. This is where your stuff is going to go. I really wish I had not cut this piece so thick. That is really thicker than I wanted, but we're going to go for it. So you place now if you have a solid piece like that, that's great. But I want to fill in, you have this dead space up here. Now I do have this slice. I don't really know that I want to put that there. So I take my wedges Gonna fill in that little section like that. And you can slide that down a little bit. Now, I'm going to take a little bit of salt. I don't put a lot of salt on there. I just want a little bit. A little bit on there. You put a little bit on there, whatever you want to do. You don't want it to look like it snowed on there. You just want a little bit. That's the way I like it. Sometimes I do also put pepper on there, but today I don't think I'm going to. So then you just take your piece of bread, put it over the top there. Give it a little loving pat, a little smush. And that's it. That's all you do. Now, if you've never tried a tomato sandwich, I highly recommend it. Especially if you live somewhere where you have really good tomatoes, you have access to really yummy tomatoes, you should try it. I like just plain white bread. I don't toast it. I don't do anything special to it. Personally, that's the way I like them. Everybody, likes different things, and that's okay. That's what makes the world go round, is that we're not all the same. If we were all the same, this would be a boring place. So then you pick it up like that, and be careful with it. And then you just eat it. That's a good tomato. That's a very nice taste. It has a slightly sweet taste. Not really sweet. A little bit of a sweetness to it. I like it. Oh, the mayonnaise and the bread just complement this so well. I like this bread because it holds together really well, and you're going to have some moisture from the cut tomatoes. There's moisture in there. There's liquid. This bread, I find, soaks it up really well, but it doesn't make your bread soggy. With some types of bread, it will make it kind of soggy, and it doesn't hold together very well. But the Merita old-fashioned bread holds up great. It will start to kind of slip out the right there. It tries to come out the bottom. You have to kind of push it back in there. This is absolutely delicious, and to me this tastes like summertime. All I need now is some watermelon. Like, I wish they had all these different kinds of watermelon there. I wish I had gotten a watermelon, because that would go really well with this. But I'm definitely looking forward to my stewed blackberries later. I already ate some of them right out of the container, and they're so good. Oh, they're wonderful. Some people get really fancy with their tomato sandwiches and add all kinds of stuff to them. And that's great. But this right here, look at that. That's really nice. That's a very good tomato. Look how pretty it is. It's very yellow. Now, it might be confusing. Some people, when they see a tomato like this, they think it's not ripe. No, it absolutely is. This is just how they look. They don't ever turn red. They stay like this. There are all different types of tomatoes. The Cherokee purple ones. Some of them will look completely purple. I mean, like all over, they will look purple with a little bit of green on them. So depending on the type of tomato you're looking at, the colors can be very different. Of course, you can get green tomatoes that are not ripe. If you've ever had fried green tomatoes, they're very good. I've had fried green tomatoes, and they are quite yummy. So it's absolutely delicious. Look at that. It's one of my favorite things about summertime. It's all the good tomatoes you can get. And I'm very lucky to live in an area where we have several farmers markets here. My favorite one is the Piedmont Triad Farmers Market, because it's so big and you can get so many different things there. That's my favorite one to go to. But there are others that have good stuff too. And you can get so many yummy things, like these great big tomatoes, and any kind of fruits or vegetables you could want. You could probably find them there in gracious abundance, and they're so good. They're so much better than what you get in the store. I mean, oh man, they're all fresh. Most of them are local, and they're just so good. You know, they didn't travel on a truck across the country to get to you. You know, they're fresh, and they haven't traveled very far, and it's just so delicious. Another thing I like about Merita old-fashioned bread is that this bread also, I don't know how to describe it. First, I like the density of it. It's really nice. And again, it absorbs the liquid from the tomato slices perfectly, so it doesn't get all soggy and gross. But also, there is this interesting kind of like an aftertaste when you eat the bread with this sandwich. The combination of the flavors. The bread even has a very slightly sweet, it's almost like an aftertaste, but it blends perfectly with the twanginess of the mayonnaise and the flavor of the tomato, no matter what kind of tomato you're using. Now, the Cherokee purples are still my favorite. They do taste different. They are more acidic, so sometimes that might be a problem. Some people don't like the acidity, but I do. I like them. I think they're really good on a sandwich. But these are good too. I like these because they do taste a little different. So again, this is the pineapple tomato, and the other one is called Mr. Stripey, and it looks very similar to the pineapple tomato, which is why I thought these were Mr. Stripey's, but they're not. It is a different type of tomato. There are so many different kinds of tomatoes. Oh my gosh, there are so many varieties. This one is one of the heirloom tomatoes. Cherokee purples are also heirloom tomatoes. You have the beefsteak, all the beefsteak variety tomatoes, which this is one of those. You have, you know, like Better Boy, Big Boy, German Johnson. Oh my God, I don't know all, but there are so many. I have no idea. I can't even tell you all of them. I haven't even tried them all. I mean, there are tomatoes out there that I've never tried before. And you can, at the farmer's market, you can get all different kinds of cherry tomatoes. They have all different kinds of those. Oh, it's just, I love it. It's just heaven. So you see how this bread holds together? It's great. And it's not soggy at all. My fingers are not getting gross and wet, you know? And it's just so good. You can see a little bit of the mayonnaise peeking through there. And you have a little bit of red in the coloring of the tomato. You can get plain yellow tomatoes too. I did look at some. There were several people there who were selling yellow tomatoes, and they actually taste almost identical. They taste almost exactly the same. Low acidity, just a different flavor. It's hard to describe the flavor of a tomato. You know what I mean? Especially different types of tomatoes. But they're all different, but they're all good. I've never tried a tomato that I didn't like. I like all of them. So I've been eating tomato sandwiches like this, minus the mayonnaise, since I was a little kid. When I was a kid, I hated mayonnaise. I didn't like it. It wasn't until I was an adult that I really sort of acquired a taste for mayonnaise. But since I grew up eating Dick's mayonnaise, that's what I buy, and it is my favorite. And I understand that you can now get it in different parts of the country. It used to just be basically kind of in the southeast of the United States, but now it has spread and you can get it. I think you can get it on Amazon. So you can definitely get it in other parts of the country and even other parts of the world. So it's just, sometimes things are an acquired taste. Getting its revenge on me. But these are such juicy tomatoes. Because it just squirted tomato juice on me. That's okay. But for me, in the summertime, especially if I've been outside doing, like, working in the yard or something, I come in, I'm kind of just don't really feel like cooking anything. I could make a couple of these just like this. And that's all I really want for dinner. I'll just have a couple of these. If I can make something for my kids, and I I don't want anything heavy. Something like this is perfect. It's such a wonderful blend of flavors. You have the tomato, the mayonnaise, and the bread, and the salt, and all that together. It sounds so simple, but it's just such a lovely taste. It really does taste like summer. And I want to get back over there and get some more tomatoes while they're like, this is the peak season for tomatoes right now. And blackberries, if you're interested in those. Oh, when I saw they had blackberries, I jumped at the chance to get some of those. And they have those beautiful bouquets. You can get these big, pretty bouquets of flowers for like $10 or $20. And they're huge and they're gorgeous. I don't know how they can sell them at that price. My last little bite, look at that. And then when I get done with this, I have to go out and wash my car. When I come back in, maybe I'll have another one. I don't know. But see, because you know, we have tomato up until the end, mayonnaise, a little bit of salt. Every little bite, including the last one, is delicious. You don't have the corner here with nothing on it. Get that tomato juice in there with some salt and mayonnaise. Oh my God. Every single bite is good. I really miss that in the wintertime. I don't even bother making tomato sandwiches in the winter because all you can get are those tomatoes in the grocery store. They look okay, they look pretty, but they're very sad. They kind of taste like wet cardboard. They don't have any flavor at all. They're not juicy. They're just, you know, grown in a hothouse somewhere and shipped from God knows where. And it's not even worth it because it's not like these. This one right here, I can guarantee you, this is a luscious, juicy tomato right here. Oh, and they smell so good. I didn't mention that. Oh, man. The ones in the store don't smell like that. No, these were grown outside in the dirt, and it makes a big difference. Hydroponics is awesome or whatever. You can't get one of these. Not like that. No, it's got to be grown in the dirt, in the sun. Look at that. This is my Cherokee purple, the smaller one. And this one here that looks like an embryo. It does. They do kind of curl over when they get bigger like that. But I have plenty here so I can enjoy more tomato sandwiches. I finished that one. And I'm always amazed every summer at how good they taste. It's almost like you kind of forget. I mean, you know they're good, but you forget just how good they are until you get to have another one. And I always appreciate it. I always enjoy it and kind of savor the moment. Yeah, my older son likes tomato sandwiches, but my younger son doesn't really like tomatoes very much, so he doesn't care for them. But I have enough here so that for this week, you know, my older son and I can enjoy some tomato sandwiches. So I know he's looking forward to it as well. And maybe I'll go back and get some more next weekend. I'm going to keep enjoying them as long as they're big and beautiful and yummy right now. As long as they're like that, I'm going to keep going back and getting more and enjoying them. And if I have to buy another pouch of mayonnaise, then so be it. I might break down and buy a jar of it. Maybe. But I mean, I don't use a whole lot, so this probably will be enough for, you know, quite a while, because I really don't use a lot, and my son doesn't put mayonnaise on his. He just puts salt and pepper on there, and that's it. I know it sounds dry, but they're actually not, because these are so juicy. So it's not like a dry sandwich, because the slices of tomato are so juicy. Thank you so much for watching. I know this is some people might think it's kind of a silly little video, but I enjoy sharing my tomato sandwiches with you. If you have never tried one, as I always say, don't knock it till you try it. You might try it and find a new favorite thing that you would have never thought to try before. So it is a very simple thing to make. There's nothing to it. You can add stuff to it if you want to. You can make a BLT if you don't like the plain old tomato sandwich. You could put different kind of seasonings on it. You can use different types of bread. You can do whatever you want. There are no rules at all. There is no wrong way to make a tomato sandwich. Unless you use Hellmann's. I'm just kidding. But thank you so much for being here. I really hope that you have a great day, and I'll see you again soon.